to talk today, I know you guys are a site. We'll talk about building relationships with clinical research sites. So the concern, of course, is that we engage, at site level, we engage with a lot of different entities, but we are spending a lot of time with our monitor as a sponsor representative. And some monitors are better than others at communication. Sometimes the investigator, perhaps, and the site staff are better at communication than others. But we're going to talk about those common requirements and really the overlap and redundancy in the regulations as we all work towards a common goal of supporting the public's health by getting products out there that are safe and effective for people to use, and making sure that we appreciate that what we're really focused on, our end product, if you will, is good clinical practice, getting credible data from subjects who have been protected in gathering that data. So we're going to talk about the startup process from a site perspective and certainly how the monitor works with that, and how we should be building relationships right from the beginning. So we'll look at advanced monitoring and communication techniques that the clinical research associates and the staff interacting with the site should be using or could be using to try to make things a little more clear for you. And we'll also look at problem-solving techniques based on a variety of real-life scenarios. So as we walk through this, I'm an auditor, so I spend a great deal of time auditing sites and monitors and CROs and sponsors and IRBs. I get to see this interaction. And as I said, sometimes it is better than others. Sometimes it's not clear. Sometimes the monitor looks to the site to train them. And then the site might also look to the monitor to come and flag their safety information or put their regulatory binder in order. So I always say that if you feel like you are doing somebody else's job, the system is not functioning. We should have parallel and complementary processes, but we should not be doing each other's jobs. And I always tell monitors, if you start three-hole punching for your site, it's all over. So we have to think about what are our responsibilities? What are we taking on? What have we agreed to do? But we really need to focus on communication. How do we ensure that we are each doing what we are supposed to do and the expectations are clearly communicated? So what a monitor hopes to never hear during an audit, the monitor made me do it. So we know that historically, if we even look at ACRP polling data from, I think, 2008, the folks that get blamed the most for issues are study coordinators and monitors, right? Things go downhill. So we think about the monitor. We've seen this in warning letters, actually. Dr. Aqua, for example, got a warning letter saying, hey, my CRO told me to do this. Other investigators have received these warning letters with similar findings. And it comes back to the FDA saying, okay, well, maybe your monitor did say this. Maybe your IRB or your CRO did say this. But if you had adhered to your own responsibilities, this wouldn't be an issue. Right? So it's that shared responsibility in terms of here are my tasks that I need to complete under the regulations, what I agreed to do in accordance with the protocol. And I'm responsible for those. So we need to make sure that that's clear for us. So a quick question for you, true or false? In general, sites are completely trusting of a CRA and do not mind at all when they are asked multiple times for the same information. What do you think? It's kind of a loaded question there. Right? So of course this can be an issue because what happens if you have a high rate of turnover? That's tough on a site. And, you know, I worked at a site years ago, and that was one of our issues. We were a good site, and we had a lot of monitor turnover where we were expected to train these monitors. We weren't really ever progressing forward because they come back and remonitor what had already been monitored. And when they found issues, it pointed to the fact that perhaps the monitoring wasn't complete. And by saying finding issues, oftentimes they created issues. Oh, this needs to be in the third person. This needs to be things that were not regulatory requirements, things that were not bound by the protocol. So we have to make sure that our monitors understand what they're supposed to be doing, and then, of course, that we understand what we're supposed to be doing. So we're going to talk about the study startup and building those relationships right from the start. So a study startup is the responsibility of the sponsor as well as the site. The expectation is that you are prepared to conduct this research. As a site, you have read the protocol and all the attendant documentation that's been provided to you. It's very concerning when we show up to do a site pre-qualification visit, for example, and the investigator and the site staff say they don't have any questions. oh yeah, we read everything, but we don't have any questions. We've done this before. Because we've been putting, as a sponsor, a lot of money into doing something novel, doing something new. So for you to say you've done it all before, or that you don't need to sit through GCP training because you've sat through it a million times, doesn't support your end of the bargain. We have to make sure that we've trained you on GCP. Because as an auditor, that's one of the things I look for. How were you trained? When were you trained? By whom? How long did it take? I want to see the information that was provided for the training. So if you just have a list of the regulations, that doesn't show me that you know how to apply those. If you don't have the content and the nuances of actual practical application and implementation of those regulatory requirements, things are not going to go well. So it is the sponsor and the site responsibility to make sure that we are where we need to be to start that study.